Hello, Amy Elizabeth, somatic and intuitive healer here. I see my little wings are still not behaving themselves. So, largely, this is for anybody who is a part of my women's circle or may have interest in joining my women's circle or just is astro curious. This month in my women's circle, we are really focusing on Leo. And so each member of circle is getting a customized reading based on which house their Leo is native to. And as we look at this, we are traveling with the sun as it moves through Leo. Mercury has already been through Leo, but we're going to touch in with it. Venus, as she is retrograde in Leo right now, we're also bringing in the two moons, Black Moon Lilith and the asteroid Kali. So we're going to touch in on all of those pieces and what they mean, and then also how those individual pieces are interacting with each other in Leo. For you, those of you that are already in Women's Circle, you know which area of your life, based on which house we're deep diving into. You also know, based on your private readings, your individual one-on-one readings, how to watch this interact with your Leo natives. So for anyone who has questions, just drop them in the chat or reach out to me personally. If you want to join Women's Circle and get your own individual reading on how all of these pieces are playing out in your individual life, reach out. I left a link in the show notes for you to go ahead and join Women's Circle. We are nationwide here in the US, and I am by no means opposed to any of you that follow me internationally joining in too. So we're going to start in the center with the sun. The sun entered Leo, the sign of the lion, on July 22nd and stays until August 23rd. Now, that July period into early August and ending August 8th is what is called the Lion's Gate. The 8th is considered the peak. And what the Lion's Gate is it's this alignment and the rising of the star Sirius, the fixed star Sirius. And it is oftentimes viewed as the return of Isis to Egypt. So it is a lot about our own sovereignty. The Leo season is in fact about our sovereignty. It's about the way we express and the way we shine. Leos are Leo energy. Everybody has Leo energy. It's just what placements do you have there and what area of your life does it show up in most. Leo energy is cheerful, it's determined, it's loyal. It is also in its shadow likely to be a drama queen, to make itself bigger than it really is. It is happy to take on responsibility. It is terrible at asking for help and support. So that is when the sun is visiting Leo. Mercury blew through Leo at top speed between July 10th and July 28th. For those of you that are in my women's circle, I'll be speaking more about that. And I want to speak about how Mercury in particular interacted with Venus and Black Moon Lilith towards the end of July there, because it feels important to plug that in to these moons that we're going to be experiencing this month, and Venus's retrograde. Venus herself entered Leo on June 5th. She is staying until October 8th. She's stationed retrograde back on the 22nd of July at 28 degrees. And she will station direct on September 3rd at 12 degrees. So I don't think I have it in my notes here. Let's just see if I have it in my notes elsewhere. Venus entered her pre-retrograde shadow on June 19th. Now, for those of you that are newer to astrology or newer to Women's Circle, that means that starting on June 19th, the things that we saw coming up in our life around power, our relationships, our money, our values and our self-worth starting on June 19th, those are the things that Venus wants us paying attention to. She's stationed retrograde on the 22nd, and now she's gonna. So she gave us a preview between June 19th and July 22nd of the things she wants us to focus on and to work on. And then between the 22nd and September 3rd, she is going to go backwards over it, or appear to go backwards over it through her retrograde, asking us to review those things, to look deeper, to reconsider how we interact with those things. She's taking us another level down into things. And then September 3rd at 12 degrees, she is going to station direct. So she's going to kind of drill down at that 28-degree point, and then she's going to start to move forward. She clears her retrograde shadow, and she's picked up speed and is ticking along on October 8th when she reaches the 29th and shifts into Virgo. So as I was saying, Venus is about our relationships, and our primary relationship is to ourselves. What is our relationship to ourselves? How do we interact? How do we view ourselves? What's our self-esteem? Is our self-esteem based on our own perception of our financial value? Is our self-esteem based on our perception of who we are in the world, the things we're attached to? I am a fill in the blank. Is that where you attach power and value? Or is your power and value attached to your simple existence, that you just get to be here on the planet? And by being here on the planet and being fully you, without your wounds driving the bus, you get to be most you. And I bring up the wounds driving the bus because we're going to get to Black Moon Lilith and Kali in just a bit. So Venus's retrograde is having us have a really deep look at our relationships. And it's not necessarily our relationships with other people. It's our relationship to ourselves. It's our relationship to money. It's our relationship to power. It's our relationship to status. It's our relationship to our stuff. It's our relationship to our own personal value system. So don't narrow it down and think that just because Venus is Aphrodite, and that she is about love and fluffiness. Venus is about sex, power, and money, folks, and what your personal relationship is to sex, power, and money. And Leo is the area of your chart, depending on what your house placement is, where she's drilling down into that. Join Women's Circle. You'll get a personalized reading. We will dive into this, and it is really fun because you're stepping into a beautiful community. Looking at the moonations this month, we had an Aquarius full supermoon on the 1st of August, 9 degrees, peaked at 1:31 p.m. Central Time. Adjust for your time zones. This moon is feeling really potent because it is kind of sort of close to the place that Pluto is squaring the nodes of fate, which is the weight that everyone feels on their shoulders. Pluto is about massive, transformative metamorphosis. It's not about change. Living in Minnesota, we're already watching the leaves start to change. That is a cyclic change. That is a change we can see. It's a short-term change that we can participate in. Pluto is about the bigger, deeper cycles of change. When you look at Pluto's orbit, 248 years, that's something dying and something being reborn. It's a metamorphosis. It's not change. It's too huge for just to call it change. Calling it change does it a disservice. The other piece about this moon is that Venus, where she is at, is trining the North Node during this time. So her retrograde is asking us to really lean into forward thinking, getting right with our own sense of self esteem and personal values and personal value. So there's our personal values. I value healing. I value authentic communication. I value radical honesty. And then there's my personal value, how I hold and love myself. Separate things, but Venus is asking us, hey, the North Node is in Aries. This is about your individuality and what you bring, what your gifts are. Are you moving toward that? Do you need to get straight? Do you need to get clear on any pieces? So we can move you toward that with more succinct beauty and more succinct pleasure, and not getting into the skate out of pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. We're here on Earth School for a reason. It is because we're meant to learn the lessons here. So that's that Aquarian super full moon. And we're going to, in just a minute, we're going to talk about the Leo new moon. We're going to talk about what makes it a super moon and why the Leo moons are the furthest away from Earth, the dark moons, and why the Aquarian moons are the closest to Earth right now. Now, our Leo new moon is happening at 23 degrees of Leo, and it peaks at 4:37 a.m. Central on August 16th. Hanging out with that moon is Black Moon Lilith, of course, because Black Moon Lilith is the moon's apogee. The moon's apogee is the spot on the lunar orbit that is furthest from Earth, which is why the Leo dark moon, in this case, because Black Moon Lilith is hanging out in Leo, is the furthest point away from Earth on the moon's orbit. So the two of them being there, Black Moon Lilith has this sorceress vibe when she's in Leo. She is all audacity and heat. She's about desires. And Black Moon Lilith, even when she's not in Leo, is about our carnal, hidden, deep, deep desires. Black Moon Lilith, when she's in the fire sign of Leo, brings that very sexy, very heat-filled, very desire-filled sorceress energy to these dark moons. Now, Venus retrograde is sandwiching this moon at 18 degrees. So we're still in that Venus retrograde period. And the Leo new moon is square to our friend Uranus over in Taurus, the king killer, the earth shaker. Uranus is answering to Venus right now because he is in the sign that she rules. So Uranus is responding and reacting and working to the song that Venus is playing, he's dancing to Venus's music right now of reviewing how we interact with our resources, what we value. Do we value the earth? And if we value the earth, how do we hold the earth and recognize that everything we have comes from the earth of the earth? Do we value the air? And if we say we value the air, how many useless trips are we making when we drive around? Are we consolidating our trips? Are we driving ecologically friendly vehicles? Are we flying places just to fly places? How are we interacting with the air if we say we value the air? So it's a piece, and there's going to be some tension with this square between the Leo dark moon and it's square to Uranus and Taurus. All of this is going on with Pluto square the nodes. Pluto square the nodes is a long-term story. That weight is going to be sitting on us for approximately 9 months, really asking us, where are you going to go? Who are you going to be? How are you going to participate in bringing value and balance? How do you shed your people pleaser? How do you step into this is me? And this is the best thing I can bring to you and to our community. Because the best thing we can bring to our community is us in all of our wholeness. And I'm sorry, I want to apologize to this community. I have been MIA because we've been moving. And now that we're starting to settle, I can start to come back and play with you again in this way, which I'm very excited about. So Black Moon Lilith, like I said, she's a point on the moon's orbit that is furthest from Earth. She is our hidden carnal desires. She's also called the lunar apogee. She entered Leo on January 8th. She stays in Leo until October 3rd of this year. If you want to dig deeper into your sorceress story, the story of your audacity, the story of your carnal desires, she was last in Leo March 3rd through November 28th of 2014. So for those of you that journal, look back, feel back what was going on in your life, because the beauty of astrology is it's cyclic. So we're in the next step of this cycle. You may see things that were happening between March and November of 2014 cropping up in your life now, saying, hey, you haven't really finished this, or hey, you're ready for your next steps in this area of your journey. The next time that Black Moon Lilith will be in Leo, so do your work with her while she's here, is November 15th of 2031 until August 8th, the peak of the Lion's Gate, 2032. So it's going to be a bit for her to come around again. This is why the Aquarian and Leo moons are particularly affected by this. It is because the point that is furthest from Earth. So all the Aquarian moons are going to be super moons. All the Leo moons are going to be the furthest point from Earth. So when we have a Leo full moon, again, Black Moon Lilith will have moved out, but our Leo full moon at the start of this year was a super full moon because of where Black Moon Lilith was in regards to Leo. So that is a little bit about Black Moon Lilith. And the final aspect we're looking at with Women's Circle is the asteroid Kali. So she entered Leo on the 15th of July. She stays until the 9th of September. Kali is the ego destroyer. She destroys the ego through this fierce, fierce love. She is warrior. She is dark goddess. She is mother energy. Kali is this really beautiful, fierce energy that helps us work through our anger and our rage by taking our ego out of our anger and our rage. And when we take our ego out, our rage becomes sacred. So just something to chew over. She was last in, if you want to dig into her story a little bit more in your chart, she was last in Leo August 30th to October 27th in 2019. She will, for those of you that like to mark your calendars, she will next be in Leo May 26th through July 22nd in 2027. So those are just things to mark if you want to follow your own personal Kali in Leo story. So everything is cyclic. So now we're going to look at how these particular players are interacting with each other. Mercury and Venus spent some good time together on the 27th at 28 degrees. So Mercury joined up with Venus in Leo after her retrograde while she was drilling down at that 28th degree. They had a good conference. Check out the 27th. See what messages came through on July 27th about your value, about your self-esteem, about the relationships in your world, about how you work with your resources. All of those messages had space to come through. Venus was already retrograde at that point. Mercury spent a couple hours with her before he sped out of Leo into Virgo the next day. And those messages that were offered up around your relationship with yourself, around your relationship with your resources, are part of what you are personally working on with this Venus retrograde. Now, the Sun and the Venus, they are going to have a cazimi on August 13th. I'm going to jump around with dates here a little bit because it's the order I wrote things in. And let's back up. Mercury came into conjunction with Black Moon Lilith on July 23rd. We'll come back to the Sun and Venus. Right now, we're gonna clear up the July pieces. Mercury came into conjunction with Black Moon Lilith at 21 degrees on July 23rd. So there was messaging on July 23rd about the desires you hide from yourself. The things about you that you choose to stay in the dark over for whatever reason. You are choosing to hold those things in the dark. You get to do that if you want to do that. And how can you really say you value yourself if you are hiding things about yourself from yourself? Even our shadow, even the parts we don't like about ourselves are really, really important that we see those and own those and take responsibility for them for one of two reasons. Item number one, we can heal it. Item number two, once we heal it, that is where our medicine is. That is where our gold is. That is where our gifts are. So if you are denying and looking away from your shadow aspects constantly, the things you want to keep in the dark, Black Moon Lilith, you are denying your own empowerment. We're going to talk about Venus with Black Moon Lilith and Kali later. Right now, we're going to go back to the Sun and Venus and their cazimi on August 13th. So cazimi is when a body enters the heart of the sun. And it is a time where we get really, really clear messaging. This clear messaging on August 13th about our self-worth is going to come through. It's going to peak about 6:16 a.m. Central Time. It's happening at 20 degrees of Leo. And it's bringing in a lot of illumination, a lot of purpose, a lot of drive, a lot of creativity, the Sun in Leo, towards how we interact with our self-worth and our value. So that's happening August 13th. The Sun and Kali met up August 3rd at the start of the month. Actually tomorrow, August 3rd is tomorrow. The Sun is going to meet up with Kali and illuminate the places our ego is harming us and illuminate the ways in which we could love harder. We could love with more fierceness, and we could show up cleaner for ourselves and everyone around us. It's happening at 10 degrees of Leo. So if you know your chart at all, I'm giving you the degrees so you can look at these things. The sun is going to meet up with Black Moon Lilith on August 17th at 24 degrees. So that is right after that new moon I talked about happening on the 16th. So the sun meeting up with Black Moon Lilith is the sun essentially aligning with that point, the moon's apogee of our carnal desires. There's going to be an illumination here of our shadow. So pay attention to the ways in which you go sideways. Emotion is just energy in motion. It's a way to move things through our systems. And emotions are messengers. And when we allow the energy to stay in motion, when we receive the message, we don't need to act on the message. We can receive the message and sit with it, find our center, figure out what works best. It's not about suppressing. It's not about toxic positivity. It's not about having to emote absolutely positively everything. It's about getting the message. Was my boundary crossed? Why was my boundary crossed? Sitting with it, being with it, talking to your trusted people about it, and knowing that you can flow with your emotions. For those of you that were in Women's Circle with me last month, I said over and over and over and over and over again, your emotional sensitivity is your superpower. Emotional sensitivity is our superpower. Leo is saying, now how are you going to creatively express that in a way that does not violate anybody else's, nor make yourself and your emotions more important than anybody else's? So the sun and Black Moon Lilith on August 17th at 24 degrees is the sun illuminating our shadow selves, the ways that we get messy, the ways that we go sideways. So just take that in and hold that. And now Venus is going to dance a dance with Black Moon Lilith and Kali due to her retrograde. The dance with Kali is a little bit simpler because Kali is leading out Venus. So Venus and Kali come into conjunction for the first time while Venus is retrograding back over Kali. They're crossing, going this way. Here's Kali, here's Venus. Venus is going retrograde. Kali is moving forward. That happens August 17th, the same day the sun and Black Moon Lilith come into conjunction. Venus is asking the question of Kali, what parts of the ego are getting in the way of true, deep self-love, true, deep self-respect? Where is the ego story about who you think you are or who you want the world to see you as getting in the way of you really loving yourself? And then Venus is going to catch up with Kali. Kali is going to continue moving forward. Venus is going to complete her retrograde. And they're going to have another part of this story, the story that we got another piece of. Everything's a cycle. On November 17th at 9 degrees of Libra. So Kali is going to be answering to Venus at that point because Venus rules Libra. And them coming into union is going to bring in another piece of this story about the stories you have about yourself and what you can and cannot express and how that works and how your ego gets in the way. Maybe your ego tells you to play small and keep it all inside and deal with it yourself. Because that is a very, very Leo trait. I'm just going to handle this all on my own, get out of my way. And I want everybody to acknowledge that I'm handling it on my own because Leo loves a little acknowledgement. So that's the Venus Kali dance. Now the Venus Black Moon Lilith dance started on June 28th at 19 degrees. Venus was already in her pre-retrograde shadow. She was already letting each of us know which portion of our story she is feeding into. And now Black Moon Lilith shows up and she's like, hey, I'm gonna bring this thing that you hide from yourself. What is the thing that you hide? Maybe it's something you're unaware of in your unconsciousness. We know at this point that the unconscious is not a brain thing. The unconscious is a cellular piece. And I am sure that at some point science is going to catch up with what shaman and people who work in energy have known always, that unconsciousness is in the energy. And unconsciousness isn't bad as long as we're not letting it drive the bus. And Black Moon Lilith being this dark, far space can be unconsciousness. What unconscious pieces can come together with Venus as she is pre-retrograde shadow, moving direct still, before they meet up again August 7th and 8th at 23 degrees during the start of Venus's retrograde here. What are the deeper, bigger messages going to be? Asking you to review what are the next pieces of the puzzle that are going to be revealed to you August 7th and 8th. It's not time to take action yet. We were showing the thing June 28th. Now we're given the chance to make a plan August 7th and 8th. And then when Venus is moving direct, she and Black Moon Lilith are going to come together for the third and final time in this story to initiate the plan. She's going to be clear of Venus is going to be clear of her retrograde shadow, and she and Black Moon Lilith are going to be at 0 degrees of Virgo. They're going to be at this initiation point, this birth point of a new sign in Virgo as the apogee of the moon moves into a new space. Venus clears her Leo energy and is on to a new part of the story, inviting us to take the lessons we've learned and apply them to build up our self-love, to build up our relationship with the earth in a new way, and to remind us that the devil's in the details. So if you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe, share me with your friends. You can sign up for my newsletter and be the first to be notified of events. And if you want to join Women's Circle, use the link in the comments and join us. I am getting out readings today and every day till the end of the month. And then we gather via Zoom on the final Friday of the month, which I believe is the 25th of August at 7 p.m. Central. So thanks so much for being here.